When Dexter Calloway reported for duty at the Global Innovation Summit, he had one job. Check everyone's ID, no exceptions. He never expected to stop the world's richest man from entering his own event, or that this single moment of unwavering integrity would change his life forever. Standing at the east entrance in his perfectly pressed uniform, Dexter had no idea that the man in the simple black t-shirt approaching without a badge was Elon Musk himself. He was just following protocol when he said those fateful words, "Excuse me, sir, I need to see your badge." What happened next would not only make him viral famous overnight, but set in motion a series of events more extraordinary than anything he could have imagined, proving that sometimes the smallest decisions lead to the most legendary outcomes. Dexter Calloway rolled his shoulders and checked his watch. 6:45 p.m. 15 more minutes until the doors officially opened for the Global Innovation Summit, but the line of eager attendees already stretched around the block. Tonight was the biggest event Dexter had worked in his 15 years as a security guard. His black uniform was pressed perfectly. His shoes polished to a mirror shine. Nothing escaped his notice, not the nervous intern fumbling with her badge, not the journalist trying to sneak in through the service entrance, and certainly not the group of college students with counterfeit tickets he'd already turned away. Remember Calloway, Mr. Vaughn, his supervisor, had said during the final briefing, "No one, and I mean absolutely no one, gets in without proper identification." Not celebrities, not politicians, not even the president. Security is top priority tonight. Dexter had nodded solemnly. "Yes, sir." No exceptions. The venue pulsed with energy as staff rushed to make final preparations. Sleek robots displayed the latest AI technology in the main hall. Virtual reality stations showcased new worlds. Journalists tested their equipment near the stage where the keynote speech would take place. Radio check. All positions. Crackle. Dexter's earpiece. East entrance. Clear, he responded, scanning the growing crowd. A mixture of tech executives in expensive suits, programmers in hoodies, and investors eager to discover the next big thing, all with their credentials displayed properly. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb. Not a limousine or anything flashy, just a high-end electric sedan with tinted windows. The driver's door opened, and a tall, lean man stepped out. He wore simple jeans and a plain black t-shirt. No badge, no lanyard, nothing to indicate he belonged at this exclusive event. The man walked with purpose toward the entrance, head slightly down, checking something on his phone. Dexter stepped forward, blocking the doorway with his broad shoulders. "Excuse me, sir, I need to see your badge." The man looked up, surprised. In the dim evening light, his features weren't immediately recognizable to Dexter. He had dark hair, a composed expression, and the distracted look of someone with 1,000 thoughts racing through his mind. "Badge?" The man seemed confused. Then understanding dawned on his face. "Oh, I don't have one. I'm Elon Musk. This is my event." Dexter had heard this trick before. Just last month, a guy tried to convince him he was a famous basketball player. "I'm sorry, sir, I need to see proper identification or your event badge." A flash of irritation crossed the man's face. He gestured to the giant banner hanging above the entrance, featuring his own image and the words, "Welcome to the future." "Look, I'm running late. I'm the keynote speaker. Just Google me." People nearby started to notice the exchange. A young woman's eyes widened. She nudged her friend and pointed. Phones came out. The line behind them grew restless. Dexter stood firm. "Rules are rules, sir. Everyone needs proper identification. Is there a problem?" A nervous event coordinator hurried over. She took one look at the man in the black t-shirt and gasped. "Mr. Musk, I'm so sorry about this. Please come right in." But Dexter didn't budge. "Ma'am, I was instructed that everyone needs identification." No exceptions, the coordinator's face flushed red. "Do you have any idea who this is?" "I understand who he claims to be," Dexter replied calmly. "But my instructions were clear. Whispers spread through the crowd. People pushed forward for a better view. "That's really him," someone said loudly. "That security guard just stopped Elon Musk." Dexter's radio crackled again. It was Mr. Vaughn, his voice tight with panic. "Calloway, what's happening at the east entrance? Is there a situation with Mr. Musk?" "Yes, sir," Dexter replied evenly. "A gentleman is attempting to enter without proper credentials. He states he's Mr. Musk. That's actually him." Mr. Vaughn's voice rose an octave. "Let him in right now." Dexter lowered his voice. "Sir, you specifically said nobody gets in without proper ID, not even the president. Those were your exact words." A small crowd had gathered now. Cell phones recorded the standoff. The man claiming to be Elon Musk didn't seem angry anymore. Instead, he watched Dexter with growing interest. "You're absolutely correct," the man said suddenly. His South African accent became more noticeable when he spoke clearly. "Rules exist for a reason." The crowd fell silent. Surprised by this response, the event coordinator looked bewildered. "But, sir," she stammered. "The keynote starts in 20 minutes. Everyone's waiting." "Then we should resolve this properly," the man replied. He turned to Dexter. "What's your name?" "Dexter Calloway, sir." "Well, Dexter Calloway, you're the first security guard who's ever stopped me like this. Everyone else just waves me through." Dexter stood tall, shoulders back. "I'm just doing my job, sir." "That's exactly why I'm impressed," the man said with a slight smile. "You didn't care who I am. You followed the protocol." An assistant pushed through the crowd, waving a badge. "Mr. Musk, I've been looking everywhere for you." "Your credentials, sir." She handed over an official event badge with the name Elon Musk printed in bold letters. The man, now confirmed beyond doubt to be the famous tech innovator, took the badge and hung it around his neck with a satisfied nod. "Now I'm official. Thank you for your dedication to security, Dexter." Cameras flashed. The crowd murmured. Dexter maintained his professional composure, despite the surreal nature of the situation. As Elon walked through the doorway, he stopped and turned. "I'd like to talk more later, if you have time." "Yes, sir." Dexter nodded, stunned by the request. The event coordinator gave Dexter a strange look, half angry, half amazed, before hurrying after Elon Musk. The crowd at the entrance buzzed with excitement. Several people approached Dexter, asking to take selfies with the guy who stopped Elon. He politely declined, returning to his post. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Notifications poured in. A friend had texted, "Dude, you're trending on Twitter." Dexter ignored the messages. He had a job to finish. But as he checked badges and scanned the growing line, his mind raced. Why would Elon Musk want to talk with him? What would happen tomorrow when this video went viral? Would he be celebrated or fired? The weight of his daughter, Zoe's, future pressed on his shoulders. She depended on him and this job. He couldn't afford to lose it. Not after everything they'd been through. As the evening sky darkened tonight, Dexter couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just changed forever. Whether for better or worse remained to be seen. The alarm clock beeped at 5:30 a.m., just like every morning. Dexter silenced it quickly before it could wake Zoe. His body ached from standing for 12 hours straight at last night's event. But there was no time to rest. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the old refrigerator. Dexter shuffled to the kitchen in his worn slippers. Morning sunlight hadn't yet broken through the small windows of their two-bedroom apartment. He started the coffee maker and pulled eggs from the refrigerator. By 6 a.m., the small table was set with scrambled eggs, toast, and orange juice. "Zoe," he called gently, knocking on her bedroom door. "Time to get up, sweetheart." A sleepy 10-year-old with curly brown hair emerged, rubbing her eyes. She had her mother's smile and Dexter's determination. "Dad, why is your phone buzzing so much?" she asked, pointing to his cell phone vibrating across the kitchen counter. Dexter sighed, 57 new notifications since he'd checked it last night. Just work stuff. Eat your breakfast before it gets cold. Zoe took a bite of toast. Grandma said you're famous now. She saw you on the internet stopping some rich guy. Dexter almost choked on his coffee. His mother must have seen the videos already. It's not a big deal, Zoe. I was just doing my job. Can I see the video? No, Dexter said firmly. Hurry up or you'll be late for school. After dropping Zoe at her elementary school, Dexter drove to his mother's small house. Clara Calloway sat at her kitchen table, iPad in hand, watching the viral video of her son for the 5th time that morning. There's my boy, she said proudly as Dexter entered, standing up to the richest man in the world. Mom, please. It wasn't like that. Dexter sank into a chair across from her. I was following protocol. I didn't even recognize him at first. Clara patted his hand. Marilyn would have been so proud of you. The mention of his late wife made Dexter's chest tighten. 3 years had passed since cancer took her, but the pain still felt fresh some days. I might lose my job over this, Mom. Nonsense. That Musk fellow seemed impressed with you. The internet loves you. Dexter's phone rang. Mr. Vaughn's name flashed on the screen. His stomach nodded as he answered. Calloway, I need you at the office at noon. The CEO wants to speak with you. This was it. He was getting fired. Yes, sir. I'll be there. Clara watched his face fall. What is it? I have to meet with the head of the security company today. Dexter stood suddenly restless. Can you pick up Zoe from school? I don't know how long this will take. Of course. And Dexter, whatever happens, you did the right thing. Dexter nodded, though he wasn't sure anymore. He'd spent 15 years building his security career, working his way up from mall security to executive protection, all to provide for Zoe after Marilyn got sick. Back at his apartment, Dexter opened the worn shoebox he kept in his closet. Inside lay his dream, brochures for security equipment, a business plan for Calloway Security Solutions, and $12,437 in savings. Not nearly enough to start his own business, but he'd been adding to it for years. During his lunch breaks, he read books like Small Business Management and Security in the Digital Age. His coworkers teased him about it, but Dexter didn't mind. He had a plan. At noon, Dexter arrived at the security company headquarters in his best suit, the one he'd worn to Marilyn's funeral. Other employees stared as he walked through a lobby. Some nodded with respect. Others whispered behind their hands. There he is. A younger guard named Tyler approached. Man, you've got guts. Standing up to Elon Musk. The video hit 5 million views this morning. 5 million? Dexter felt dizzy. The boss has been in meetings all morning. Some people think you embarrassed the company, but others say you showed real integrity. Mr. Vaughn appeared at the end of the hallway. Calloway, this way. Dexter followed his supervisor into a large conference room. The company's CEO, Mrs. Winters, sat at the head of the table. Her expression revealed nothing. Mr. Calloway, she began. Your actions last night have put our company in quite a situation. Dexter swallowed hard. Ma'am, I was following the protocol exactly as instructed. Mrs. Winters raised her hand. Let me finish. While some of our clients expressed concern about how Mr. Musk was treated, his team reached out this morning. Dexter braced himself. They were impressed with your professionalism. Mr. Musk himself commented on your dedication to security protocols. Mr. Vaughn slid a business card across the table. An email address was scribbled on the back. That's from Mr. Musk's chief of staff, Mrs. Winters explained. He wants to speak with you directly. Dexter stared at the card in disbelief. Why? That's what we'd all like to know, Mrs. Winters said with a rare smile. Whatever the reason, this could be excellent publicity for our company. Just make sure you represent us well. On the drive to pick up Zoe, Dexter's mind raced. Why would Elon Musk want to talk with him? He was just a regular guy doing his job. Nothing special. At home that evening, Dexter helped Zoe with her math homework. She struggled with fractions, just like he had at her age. "Dad," she asked suddenly. "Are you in trouble because of that video?" Dexter put down the pencil. "No, sweetheart. Actually, something strange is happening. The man I stopped wants to talk to me." "Why?" "I don't know," Dexter admitted. "But no matter what happens, nothing's more important than you. You know that, right?" Zoe nodded and hugged him. "Mom always said you were the most honest person she knew." After Zoe went to bed, Dexter sat alone at the kitchen table. He typed the email address from the business card. His finger hovered over the send button. Whatever came next would change everything. But for better or worse, only time would tell. Dexter pressed send. His simple email read, "This is Dexter Calloway following up as requested. I'm available to speak at your convenience." He didn't expect a reply until morning, but his phone rang just 20 minutes later. "Mr. Calloway, this is Prasha Patel, Chief of Staff for Mr. Musk. He'd like to meet with you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Is that possible?" Dexter checked his schedule. He was supposed to work security at a downtown bank. "I'd need to get my shift covered." "That won't be a problem," Prasha said confidently. "We've already spoken with Mrs. Winters. You're cleared for tomorrow." Dexter frowned. They had called his boss before even speaking to him. "The address is already in your email. Please be punctual." She hung up before he could respond. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Dexter tossed and turned, replaying the encounter at the Innovation Summit. What if he had just let Elon Musk in? Would his life still be normal? Morning arrived too quickly. After dropping Zoe at school, Dexter stopped at a barbershop for a fresh haircut. He couldn't meet one of the world's richest men looking scruffy. The address led him to a sleek office building downtown. The security guard at the front desk grinned when Dexter showed his ID. "You're the guy from the video." "Man, that took guts." Dexter managed a small smile. "Just doing my job." "Like I'm doing?" "Mine now," the guard said, checking Dexter's ID carefully before issuing a visitor badge. "No exceptions, right?" On the 22nd floor, Prasha greeted him. She was younger than Dexter expected, maybe 30, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Musk is running slightly behind schedule. Please wait here." She led him to a minimalist conference room with glass walls and a view of the city. Dexter sat stiffly in an ergonomic chair that probably cost more than his monthly rent. His phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "Good luck today. Zoe says knock him dead." The door opened. Dexter stood quickly as Elon Musk entered alone. He wore the same style of simple black t-shirt as at the event. "Dexter, good to see you again." Elon extended his hand. His grip was firm. "No hard feelings about yesterday, I hope." "No, sir," Dexter said. "I was just following protocol. That's exactly why I wanted to talk to you." Elon sat across from him. "Do you know how many people break rules for me every day? They think it will make me happy." Dexter shook his head. "Too many." Elon continued, leaning forward. "Everyone wants to impress me by bending the rules. It's refreshing to meet someone who sticks to principles." Dexter relaxed slightly. This wasn't going how he expected. "Tell me about yourself," Elon said. "Not the resume version. The real story." For the next 20 minutes, Dexter surprised himself by talking openly. He shared how he started in security after the military. How he met Marilyn when he caught her shoplifting a candy bar when she was hypoglycemic. Their life together before cancer took her. "And now it's just you and your daughter," Elon observed. Yes, Zoe is everything to me. What about this? Elon pulled out a piece of paper, a printout of Dexter's business plan that he kept in the shoebox. Your boss mentioned you want to start your own security company. Dexter's mouth went dry. How did you get that? I asked about your background. They were very helpful. Elon studied the paper. It's a good plan. Simple, focused, realistic goals. Outside the glass walls, people walked past, trying not to stare. Some took photos with their phones. The viral moment was still spreading. Yesterday wasn't the first time we met, Dexter. Dexter blinked in confusion. Sir, 6 years ago, you were working security at a tech conference in Chicago. I tried to enter a restricted area and you stopped me then, too. Dexter searched his memory. The backup generator area. You said you wanted to check the setup. Yes. Elon smiled. You escorted me out politely but firmly. I didn't realize it was you. Exactly. You treated me like anyone else. Do you know how rare that is? People either worship me or hate me. Very few just see me as a person. Dexter shifted uncomfortably. This felt too personal. I have a proposition for you, Elon said suddenly. I'm developing a new facility in Austin. Security is paramount. I need someone who understands both physical and ethical boundaries. Dexter waited, not sure where this was heading. I want you to oversee security for the entire project. The words hung in the air between them. Dexter almost laughed, thinking it was a joke. But Elon's expression remained serious. Me? But I'm just a regular security guard. No, Elon said firmly. You're a man of principle. That's exactly what I need. Prisha knocked and entered with a tablet. The details, as you requested. Elon passed it to Dexter. On the screen was a job offer. The salary made Dexter's eyes widen nearly 4 times what he currently made. This would mean moving to Texas, Dexter said slowly. Yes, we'd cover all relocation costs, good schools for your daughter, a housing allowance until you settle in. It was too much to process. Dexter's mind raced with possibilities and problems. Take your time, Elon said standing. This isn't just about what happened yesterday. It's about who you are, Dexter. The world needs more people who stand by their principles, even when it's uncomfortable. Dexter stood too. I appreciate the offer, sir, but I'll need to think about it. My daughter family comes first, Elon nodded. I respect that. Talk it over with them. At the elevator, Elon handed Dexter a business card with a private number. Call me directly when you decide. And Dexter, whatever you choose, I'm glad we met again. On the street, Dexter stood still as the world rushed past. His phone buzzed with new messages from friends who'd seen more videos of the encounter. Hashtags like security guard vs Elon and rules are rules were trending. None of it seemed real. An hour ago, he was worried about paying for Zoe's braces next year. Now he held a job offer that would solve every financial problem he'd ever had. But it would mean leaving his mother, uprooting Zoe, starting over in a new state. Was this opportunity worth the cost? He had until Monday to decide. Dexter's alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. as usual, but he was already awake. He'd barely slept, his mind racing with possibilities. The job offer sat on his kitchen table where he'd left it after showing it to his mother last night. It's a miracle, Clara had said, eyes wide. A genuine miracle. But it didn't feel like a miracle. It felt overwhelming. Dexter made breakfast on autopilot, the familiar routine calming his nerves. The sizzle of eggs, the pop of the toaster, the gurgle of the coffee maker. Dad! Dad! Look! Zoe burst into the kitchen, still in her pajamas, clutching her tablet. You're everywhere. Before Dexter could stop her, Zoe pressed play on a dramatic music and slow-motion effects. The title read, Security Guard Owns Elon Musk, Integrity, 100. Zoe, turn that off, please. But you're famous. Mia texted me that her brother saw you on the news in California. Dexter took the tablet gently. Honey, it's not a big deal. Is it true that Mr. Musk offered you a job? Grandma said, we'll talk about it later. Dexter, cut in. Get dressed for school. On the drive to school, Zoe bounced in her seat. My teacher said we're doing current events today, and someone picked your video. Dexter gripped the steering wheel tighter. Zoe, listen, this attention won't last. Next week, people will forget all about it. But what about the job in Texas? Would we really move? I don't know yet. It's a big decision. Zoe's excitement dimmed. I don't want to leave my friends or grandma. I know, sweetheart. That's why we need to think carefully. After dropping Zoe off, Dexter checked his phone. 27 missed calls. 64 text messages. Over 100 email notifications. His social media accounts, barely used before, had thousands of new followers. His regular shift at the downtown high-rise started at 9. As Dexter walked through the lobby in his uniform, people stared and whispered. A woman asked for a selfie. The receptionist winked and said, "Nice job putting the rich guy in his place." Dexter corrected her gently. "That's not what happened. I was just doing my job." "Whatever you say, internet famous guy." His supervisor, Ramirez, called him into the security office. "Calloway, what's going on? I've got reporters asking for interviews with you." "I'm sorry about that. I never expected." "Don't apologize. This is great publicity for the company." Ramirez leaned closer. "So is it true? Musk offered you a job?" News traveled fast. Dexter nodded reluctantly. "Man, you're living the dream. You gonna take it?" "I haven't decided." Ramirez looked surprised. "What's to decide?" "It's Elon freaking Musk." Throughout his shift, Dexter kept his head down, trying to focus on work. But his phone buzzed constantly. Someone had leaked his work schedule online, and a small group of people gathered near his post, hoping to meet the security guard from the video. By lunchtime, his photo appeared on 3 news websites. The headlines varied from "Security Guard Stands Firm Against Billionaire" to "Elon Musk Humbled by Everyday Hero." None of it felt right. The stories painted him as either a brave defender of rules or a foolish man who didn't recognize a celebrity. The truth was simpler. He'd just been doing his job. At his break, Dexter stepped outside for fresh air. A young reporter approached with a microphone. "Mr. Calloway, how does it feel to be an overnight sensation?" Dexter tried to walk past. "No comment, please. Is it true you're considering a job offer from Elon Musk? How much is he paying you to keep quiet about what really happened?" Dexter stopped. "What? Nothing really happened? The video shows everything." The reporter smiled. "Sources suggest there was more to the confrontation. Care to comment?" "Your sources are wrong," Dexter said firmly, then walked away. Back inside, Ramirez looked worried. "Calloway, you've got calls from CNN, Fox, and 3 morning shows. What should I tell them?" "Tell them I'm not interested." Ramirez shook his head. "You could make good money from interviews." The thought hadn't even occurred to Dexter. "I don't want money for doing nothing." When his shift ended, Dexter found his car surrounded by curious onlookers. Someone had taped a note to his windshield. "Way to stand up to the 1%. At home, Clara had brought Zoe over and made dinner. "I hope you don't mind," she said when Dexter walked in. "Your place was easier to find today than mine." "What do you mean?" "2 news vans were parked outside my house," Clara said calmly, stirring pasta sauce. "They thought you might be there." Dexter's stomach dropped. "Mom, I'm so sorry." "Don't be silly. I enjoyed it." Told them all about how you've always been stubborn since you were a boy. Grandma was on TV, Zoe added excitedly, and my friends all think you're cool now. After dinner, when Zoe was doing homework, Clara sat with Dexter in the living room. Have you decided about the job? How can I move her to Texas? Everything she knows is here. Children adapt, Clara said gently. When your father got transferred to Missouri, you cried for a week. 2 months later, you didn't want to come back. But you'd be alone. Clara patted his hand. I've been taking care of myself since before you were born. Don't use me as an excuse. It's not just that, Dexter admitted. What if I'm not qualified? What if I fail? Then you fail. But at least you tried. Clara stood. Your Marilyn would have told you to take the leap. After Clara and Zoe left, Dexter sat alone in his quiet apartment. His phone pinged with a new message. It was a video sent from Tyler at work, a compilation someone made of the encounter with Elon, edited to dramatic music. The caption read, "When integrity meets innovation." Dexter watched it twice, seeing himself as others saw him, not as a hero or a fool, but as a man who stood by his principles. By morning, he had made his decision. On Monday morning, Dexter called the number Elon had given him. I'll take the job, he said simply when Elon answered. Excellent. Precia will handle the details. When can you start? I need to give 2 weeks' notice, and my daughter finishes her school term in 3 weeks. Perfect. That gives us time to prepare. I look forward to working with you, Dexter. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur. Dexter signed paperwork, attended virtual orientation meetings, and packed up the apartment that had been home for 6 years. The viral video's popularity faded, but Dexter still got recognized occasionally. His co-workers threw him a goodbye party. Even Mr. Vaughn arrived with a card signed by everyone in the company. They presented him with a plaque reading, "Rules are rules, even for billionaires." We'll miss you, Calloway, Ramirez said, clapping his shoulder. But if I were in your situation, would have done the same thing. Zoe's school had a special assembly to say goodbye. Her friends made cards promising to text every day. Her teacher pulled Dexter aside. Mr. Calloway, she's special. Make sure her new school challenges her, particularly in science. She has real talent there. Clara assisted Zoe in packing up her room, carefully wrapping the science fair trophies and the Marilyn photograph she kept by her bed. You are doing the right thing, Clara assured him. I have already scheduled my first trip to Texas for Labor Day weekend. The night before they left, Dexter stood in the vacant apartment. Every corner held memories. Marilyn is bringing baby Zoe home. Birthday parties. During Marilyn's illness, he would spend long nights alone in the kitchen, trying not to cry in front of Zoe. We're ready for a fresh start, he whispered, as if Marilyn could hear him. I hope I am making the right decision. 3 days later, Dexter sat in a luxurious conference room at the Texas facility. His new security uniform felt too crisp and perfect. The facility was massive, a sprawling campus of cutting-edge technology and innovation. His new apartment was twice the size of their previous one and included a pool and playground for Zoe. Mr. Calloway? A young assistant poked her head inside. Mr. Musk will join you shortly. Dexter nodded, his heart pounding. Despite the job offer, the cross-country move, and the mountains of paperwork, he couldn't believe it was happening. The door opened. Elon walked in alone, holding a tablet. He wore the same basic black t-shirt. Dexter. Nice to see you again. Elon sat across from him. How was the move? Is the family settling in okay? Yes, sir. The apartment is really nice. Zoe adores the pool. Okay, good. Elon swiped through the screens on his tablet. I wanted to meet with you before you start orientation. Dexter straightened up as he explained why you were here. Here it was. The real reason behind this unusual job offer. Do you know how many employees I have, Dexter? Thousands, I imagine. Elon confirmed that there were more than 70,000. And none of them would have done what you did at the event. Dexter began to protest. Sir, I was only following protocol. Yes, but you did it even though you knew who I was and everyone told you to make an exception. Elon leaned forwards. Do you understand how rare that quality is? Dexter wasn't sure how to respond. I am surrounded by people who tell me what they believe I want to hear. Elon continued. They break rules, disregard protocols, and cut corners in order to please me. He stood and walked to the window, gazing out at the vast facility. But that is not what creates successful businesses, spaceships, or electric vehicles. Those things necessitate strict adherence to standards and protocols. A single loose bolt can destroy a rocket. A single software bug has the potential to cause a car crash. Elon turned back to face Dexter. I need people who prioritize doing what is right over what is convenient. People who are unafraid to challenge power. With all due respect, sir, Dexter said carefully, I don't think security guards are usually asked to stand up to their bosses. Elon smiled. That is exactly the point. Your job is not limited to guarding this facility. It is to foster a security culture that prioritizes integrity over all else. He tapped his tablet, and a holographic display appeared above the conference table, showing a detailed security blueprint for the entire facility. This facility houses some of the most advanced technology on the planet. Every government spy agency, corporate competitor, and hacker wants to get inside. Elon pointed to the display. Your current security has serious flaws. Dexter examined the blueprint. Elon was correct. He was able to identify at least 5 major vulnerabilities immediately. I need someone who will properly implement security, even if it is inconvenient for me, Elon stated, even if I am in a hurry, irritated, or believe the rules do not apply. So you think that's me? I know it's you. I've seen it twice. Dexter considered his small security business plan, which remained in the shoebox he had brought with him. This was far beyond what he had imagined. I will do my best, sir. I know you will. That is why you are here. Elon handed Dexter the access card. This grants you level 10 clearance. Only 5 people in the company have reached this level. Dexter took the card and felt its weight in his hand. This allows you to access every part of the facility, including every server room, prototype, and blueprint. Elon's expression became serious. That is how much I trust you, Dexter. The responsibility was overwhelming. What if I am not qualified for this? You have the most relevant qualifications. The technical details can be learned. Integrity? That is something you either have or don't. A knock on the door interrupted them. Prisha entered carrying a stack of tablets. Your senior security team has assembled in the main conference room, she stated. Dexter gulped hard. My team? Elon casually mentioned 26 of the country's best security experts. The majority have military or intelligence backgrounds. They've been told that their new boss will arrive today. Panic washed over Dexter. Was he supposed to lead these people? They'd look at his resume and laugh. Elon appeared to read his thoughts. They will respect you once they get to know you. Just be yourself, the guy who prevented Elon Musk from attending his own event. Dexter stood and straightened his uniform. I'll try not to disappoint you, sir. You won't, Elon declared confidently. That is not who you are. As Dexter followed Prisha to the conference room, his phone vibrated with a text from Zoe. How is the first day going? Has anyone famous followed the rules yet? Despite his nervousness, Dexter smiled. Whatever challenges arose, he would face them with the same integrity, determination, and confidence that his daughter had in him. The conference room doors opened. 26 faces turned to look at him. His new life had officially started. Dexter remained frozen in the doorway. 26 security experts looked back at him. Most people wore expressions of confusion or skepticism. Prisha announced, Team, this is Dexter Calloway, your new head of security. before exiting and closing the door. A tall woman with a military posture spoke first. "You're the guy in the video who stopped Musk." "Yes," Dexter responded simply. "That is me." A man with a buzz cut and a scar on his cheek snorted. "No offense, but we expected someone with actual credentials." Murmurs of agreement echoed throughout the room. Dexter noticed their resumes displayed on the tablets in front of them. Former FBI agents, ex-Navy SEALs, and cybersecurity experts from major technology firms. Dexter took a deep breath. "I understand your concern. My background is not like yours. I do not have advanced degrees or specialized training. I do have 15 years of hands-on security experience and a dedication to doing things correctly every time." The room remained silent and unconvinced. "You've all got impressive resumes," Dexter continued. "I'd be foolish not to rely on your experience. I am not here to tell you how to do your jobs. I'm here to build a team that prioritizes integrity." The tall woman, her nameplate reading Colonel Jacobs, leaned forward. "And you think preventing your boss from entering his own building is good judgment?" Dexter responded, "I believe that following established security protocols demonstrates good judgment, even when it is easier not to." At the conclusion of the 2-hour meeting, Dexter had learned 2 things. First, the facility's security had significant flaws, particularly in how different teams communicated. Second, the majority of his new teammates continued to doubt him. That evening, Dexter picked Zoe up from her day camp. She bounced into the car, full of stories about her new friends, who have a real science lab complete with microscopes. She exclaimed, "Can I join the science club once school starts?" "Of course," Dexter replied, pleased to see her enthusiasm. "How about some pizza to celebrate your first day?" Zoe grew quiet during dinner in their new apartment. "Dad, do you miss home?" The question took him off guard. "This is now our home. You understand what I mean. Do you miss Grandma and our old apartment?" Dexter put down his pizza. "I do. However, in order to achieve a better future, we must occasionally make difficult decisions." "Do you miss it, too?" "Much?" Zoe shrugged. "Maya from camp has invited me to her birthday party next week. She agreed to let me sleep over. I would not have made friends so quickly at home." "That's wonderful, Zoe. But I still miss Grandma," she said quickly. "I agree. We'll video call her tonight." Later, after Zoe went to bed, Dexter sat on their new balcony, gazing at the stars. Clara called to check in. "How was your first day?" she asked. Dexter admitted that it was challenging. "I'm in charge of people who have significantly more qualifications than me." "Qualifications aren't everything," Clara explained. "Your father did not complete high school, but he managed 50 men at the factory because they respected him. I'm not sure my teammates respect me yet. Give it time." "How is my granddaughter?" Dexter smiled as he said, "Adapting better than me. She has already been invited to a birthday party. See, I told you that children are resilient. Change is difficult for the elderly." After they hung up, Dexter went over the security plans on his new company tablet. The work ahead seemed overwhelming, but giving up was not an option, especially since Zoe's future was at stake. Colonel Jacobs had sent him a text message. "I reviewed your initial suggestions. Not bad. We'll talk about implementing the communication protocols tomorrow." A minor victory, but he would take it. The following morning, Dexter arrived early. He discovered Colonel Jacobs already at her desk. "My team will follow your lead," she stated without hesitation, "but they must know you will follow theirs in terms of technical expertise." "That's fair," Dexter said. Colonel Jacobs nodded. "Regina is what my friends call me." By the end of the week, Dexter had met individually with each team member. He listened more than he spoke, noting their concerns and ideas. Some people began to warm to him. Others stayed cold. Elon paid a surprise visit to Dexter's office on Friday. "How is it going? Is your team giving you trouble?" "Nothing I can't handle," Dexter responded, surprised by his own confidence. Good. I'm going to the prototype lab. Do you want to see what you are protecting? The prototype lab resembled something from a science fiction film. Robots created smaller robots. Engineers tested devices that Dexter couldn't even identify. Everything here is classified, Elon explained. Some of these technologies will not be made public for many years, if ever. The responsibility of protecting such innovation hit Dexter hard. I will not let you down. I know, Elon replied simply. That is why you are here. That night, Dexter tucked Zoe in bed. Are you pleased with our decision to relocate here? He asked. Zoe thought for a moment. I miss Grandma and my old friends, but I enjoy our new home. And you appear to be enthusiastic about your job. I am, Dexter admitted. This is important work. Then I'm also happy, Zoe said, yawning. We are on an adventure, right? Dexter agreed and kissed her forehead. A huge adventure. As he walked to his own room, Dexter felt a sense of certainty that he hadn't felt since Marilyn died. They had made the right decision. Whatever obstacles lay ahead, they would face them together. 3 weeks passed quickly. Dexter settled into a routine, leaving early to avoid traffic and returning in time for dinner with Zoe. Every day brought new challenges, but also minor victories. The security personnel gradually accepted him. Progress was undeniable, albeit not all at once or for everyone. Regina Jacobs became an invaluable ally, frequently translating Dexter's simple directives into technical language that the specialists understood. You have good instincts, she told him one afternoon. You just don't always understand the jargon. Dexter is still amazed by the facility on a daily basis. It spanned 50 acres and featured buildings dedicated to robotics, energy research, artificial intelligence, and space technology. Thousands of employees with top security clearances worked on projects that could change the world. Zoe started school and joined a science club. She made new friends while maintaining regular video calls with her old ones. Clara came for a weekend and marveled at their new apartment. She exclaimed, "It's bigger than my entire house, including the pool. I might move in with you." Dexter said you'd be welcome, and he meant it. Regardless, he missed his mother's daily presence. On Monday morning, Dexter entered the facility's main security hub, a room filled with wall-to-wall screens that monitored the entire complex. Because of the glass walls, his team called it the fishbowl. "Morning, boss," said Marcus, a former FBI cybersecurity expert who had previously been one of Dexter's harshest critics. "You will want to see this." Marcus pulled up footage from the previous night. Someone attempted to enter the server room at 2:17 a.m. using an employee badge. The facial recognition did not match the badge owner. "Who is that?" Dexter inquired, examining the grainy image. "I don't know yet. Dr. Patel's robotics badge. She claims she was at home sleeping." "I believe her," Dexter stated. "Consider the height difference between her ID photo and this person." He developed a new security protocol on the spot. From now on, all after-hours access will require both badge and fingerprint verification. No exceptions. By noon, the changes had been implemented. By 3, they'd apprehended their first violator, an intern who had borrowed his supervisor's badge to retrieve misplaced keys. "See? This is why we need stricter protocols," Dexter told the embarrassed young man. Someone with bad intentions could have taken advantage of what appeared to be an innocent situation. That evening, Dexter got a message from Elon. "I heard about the new badge protocol. That was a smart move. Come to my office tomorrow." At home, Zoe was ecstatic. "Dad, I was chosen for the science fair team. We're developing a water filtration system that operates without electricity." "That's incredible," Dexter exclaimed, hugging her. "Mom would be very proud." Zoe's smile faltered slightly at the mention of Marilyn. "Do you think she would enjoy it here?" Dexter considered the question carefully. "I think she'd enjoy seeing how happy you are." The rest would not matter to her. Zoe nodded, pleased with the answer. I'm going to place her picture next to my science project for good luck. The following day, Dexter met with Elon in his surprisingly minimalist office. No fancy artwork or expensive furniture, just clean lines and functional workspaces. Your security upgrades are impressive, Elon stated. The board took notice. Dexter replied, we still have work to do. Communication between departments is not yet seamless. This is my next project for you. Elon swiveled his tablet to display a blueprint. We'll break ground on a new AI research facility next month. I want you to create the security from scratch. Dexter studied the plans. This is a huge undertaking. Elon agreed. And if the wrong people gain access to what we're building there, the consequences could be severe. Dexter bore a heavy burden of responsibility. I'll need Regina and Marcus for this. Whatever you need. Budget is not a concern. Security is. Later that afternoon, Dexter met with his core team to discuss the new project. As he explained the challenge, he noticed something new about their expressions. Respect. This is huge. Marcus whistled softly. Musk does not allow just anyone to design security for next-generation AI. Regina nodded to Dexter and said, he chose the right person. We have your back on this. For the first time, Dexter felt like their leader, not just the guy in the viral video. At home that evening, Dexter assisted Zoe with her science project. As they worked, his phone buzzed with text messages from the team discussing security plans for the new facility. Even those who had initially been cold to him were now contributing. Your job appears to be important, Zoe observed as he read the messages. It is, Dexter agreed, but not as significant as being your father. Zoe smiled. Can we video call Grandma? I'd like to tell her about the science fair. As they spoke with Clara, Dexter realized how much had changed in just a few weeks. Their small apartment at home seemed like a distant memory. This new life, larger, more challenging, and full of possibilities, was starting to feel normal. After Zoe went to bed, Dexter sat on the balcony with his tablet, going over security plans. The stars seemed brighter in Texas, reminding him of his father's camping trips from years ago. Marcus called and expressed an urgent concern about the AI facility plans. Sorry to bother you at home, boss, but I believe I discovered a potential vulnerability in the preliminary design. Never apologize for doing your job well, Dexter said. That is what I hired you for. Despite the fact that Dexter had not hired any of them, the words flowed easily. Nonetheless, for the first time, he felt entitled to assert his leadership position without hesitation. New beginnings weren't easy, but as Dexter discussed security protocols under the Texas stars, he realized that sometimes the most difficult decisions yield the best results. Dexter had transformed the facility's security after only 2 months in his new role. Badge protocols were stricter. Communication between departments was more clear. Random security drills kept everyone alert. Dexter arrived early most mornings to review the previous night's reports. This Tuesday began like any other, until he checked his email. Subject, urgent. Security. Breach. Dexter's heartbeat quickened as he read the message. A competitor had gained access to confidential designs for a new solar panel overnight. The executive team was preparing for an emergency meeting in 30 minutes. He dashed to the conference room, where angry voices echoed down the corridor. This is exactly what we hired Callaway to prevent, exclaimed the head of R&D. Dexter entered the room. The entire conversation came to a stop. 8 executives stared at him, including Elon, who had an unreadable expression. Explain how this happened, Elon asked, his voice calm but cold. Dexter took a deep breath. I don't have all of the details yet. My team is currently investigating. Not good enough, said the financial director. We've lost millions in potential revenue. These designs took years to develop. I understand. Dexter responded evenly. However, we need facts before jumping to conclusions. The truth is that your security has failed. The head of R&D countered. Elon raised his hand to signal silence. Dexter, I trusted you to protect against exactly this type of breach. What happened? I'm still working on implementing some of the new security measures. Dexter Tyree explained that the communication protocols between departments are not yet fully operational. The financial director said, that sounds like an excuse. It is context, not an excuse. Dexter corrected politely. Several department heads have resisted the stricter measures, claiming they reduce productivity. The eyes shifted uncomfortably around the table. Elon's eyes narrowed. I need results, not explanations, Elon stated firmly. Fix this, or we will have to reconsider your position. The word struck Dexter like a physical blow. Everything he'd created here, including their new life, Zoe's school, and their future, could vanish in an instant. Elon continued, you have 48 hours to determine how the breach occurred and who is responsible. Please report directly to me. The meeting concluded abruptly. Regina caught Dexter's eye across the room as the executives left. Her face showed concern. Back in the security hub, Dexter assembled his core team. Everything else is put on hold. We need to find out who leaked the designs. They worked through lunch, going over access logs, security footage, and email records. By the evening, they had nothing concrete. Marcus reported that the files were accessed using the proper credentials. There was no forced entry into the system. So it was an inside job, Regina deduced. Someone with legitimate access. Dexter nodded grimly. Keep digging. I'm going to pick up Zoe, but I'll return tonight. He tried to hide his worry at home, but Zoe caught on right away. What is wrong, Dad? You barely touched the spaghetti. Just a tough day at work, Dexter said, forcing a smile. How was your science project? Zoe launched into a detailed explanation of her water filtration design, but Dexter struggled to concentrate. What would happen if he lost this job? How would he explain to Zoe that they needed to move again? After putting Zoe to bed, Dexter returned to the facility. The night security team welcomed him in with polite nods. In the now empty security hub, he reviewed footage for the 100th time. Something caught his attention, a shadow moving in an unusual pattern near the server room. He rewinded and played it again. The movement did not correspond to any scheduled security patrols. Dexter discovered a 3-second gap in the camera system where someone walking at the correct pace would go undetected by the cameras. It was not arbitrary. Someone had calculated this precisely. He stayed all night, going through weeks of old footage. His eyes burned with fatigue by sunrise, but he had noticed the same pattern 5 times in the previous month, always on nights when critical data was being transferred between servers. Regina arrived at 7 a.m. and found Dexter still working. You look terrible, she stated bluntly. Have you slept at all? No time for sleep, Dexter replied, showing her what he had discovered. This was planned. Someone has been studying our camera patterns. Regina whistled softly. That is sophisticated. We are not dealing with an opportunist. Exactly. And they will try again. Dexter straightened his tie as his mind raced. I've got an idea, but I'll need your help. Whatever you need, boss. Dexter's plan was simple but risky. They'd make fake blueprints with tiny, traceable differences. Each department would get a slightly different version. When the next leak occurred, they could pinpoint which department it originated from. Regina, this is a classic canary trap. Approved. However, we must make the differences so subtle that our leak will not notice them. The bait files were created and distributed in collaboration with trusted engineers. They just had to wait. Meanwhile, Zoe met her first real friend at school, Maya Chen, whose father worked as an engineer for the company. The girls became inseparable, having play dates after school and whispering secrets at lunchtime. Zoe enthusiastically reported that Maya's father works on robots that can think like humans. Can I invite her to a sleepover this weekend? Of course, Dexter agreed, relieved to see Zoe happy. 3 days after setting the trap, Dexter received an alert on his phone. One of the fraudulent blueprint files had been accessed and copied to an external drive. Marcus exclaimed, "We got them," as Dexter showed him the alert. It came from the executive floor. Dexter identified the source by examining the specific leaked file. Vernon Reeves, Senior Vice President of Operations and one of Elon's longest-serving colleagues. Regina shook her head, saying, "This cannot be right. Reeves has been with Elon for several years. He has millions of dollars worth of stock options." Dexter responded by pulling up Vernon's access logs. "See for yourself." Dexter presented his evidence to the security director, Roland Perry. Roland's face darkened as he examined the data. "This is serious, Calloway. Reeves is Elon's friend. You should be certain before making accusations." Dexter insisted that the evidence was clear. "Check the access logs yourself." Roland promised to look into it further, but nothing happened for several days. Dexter began to worry that Roland might also be involved. Who could he trust? He decided to go directly to Elon, but scheduling a meeting proved difficult. Elon's schedule was packed with damage control after the initial leak. Time was running out. In the break room, Dexter overheard discussions about restructuring the security team. Everything he and Zoe had built in their new home, as well as his job, was at stake. Dexter returned to the security hub with renewed determination. If the company's leadership did not act on his evidence, he needed to collect more proof that could not be ignored. He called Regina and Marcus, two of his most trusted team members. "We need to speak privately in a small conference room with electronics." Dexter explained the situation, having been swarmed by bugs. He concluded that someone at the top is either protecting Reeves or is personally involved. "We need irrefutable evidence." Marcus seemed nervous. "We're talking about investigating a senior vice president. If we're wrong, we're not wrong," Dexter stated firmly. "The question is why? Why would someone of Reeves' status and wealth risk everything?" Regina tapped her fingers thoughtfully. "Follow the money. People like that are always leaving a trail." They worked carefully over the next 3 days, keeping their investigation a secret. Marcus discreetly tracked Reeves' digital footprint, while Regina analyzed his movement patterns throughout the facility. Dexter created new bait files, this time incorporating more sophisticated tracking markers into the code itself. He needed Reeves to eat another bite. Meanwhile, Zoe's friendship with Maya grew. At school, the girls were inseparable, and Maya would frequently come over to help with science projects. "Dad, can I go to Maya's house on Friday?" Zoe asked at breakfast. Her father said he could show us some cool robot stuff. "Does Maya's father work here?" Dexter had been so preoccupied with the investigation that he hadn't realized the connection. "Yes, Mr. Chen is an engineer. He works with the robots that construct the automobiles." Dexter took a mental note to check Chen's security clearance. It was probably nothing, but in his situation, he couldn't be too cautious. Late Thursday night, Marcus barged into Dexter's office. "I found something. Reeves has been making large deposits to an offshore account every month since the leaks began." Regina cautioned that this was not enough. "We have to catch him in the act." Their opportunity arrived sooner than expected. At 1:17 a.m., the tracking markers on their bait files triggered an alert. Someone was accessing the server room with Reeves' credentials. Marcus whispered as they viewed the security feed from a hidden monitoring station. "He is copying. What are the new designs for solar panels?" Dexter recorded everything. The next morning, he was finally able to schedule a 5-minute meeting with Elon. As Dexter entered his office, Elon looked tired and said, "This must be important. We're still dealing with the aftermath of the leak." "It's about the leak," Dexter explained, placing his tablet on the desk. "I know exactly who did it." Dexter spent the next 5 minutes presenting his evidence against Vernon Reeves. Access logs, offshore accounts, and video footage from last night. Elon's expression darkened as he examined the data. "These accusations are serious. Vernon has been with me for 8 years. The evidence does not lie, Dexter stated unequivocally. Check it yourself. Elon stared out the EDUEE window for a long time. I will look into it personally. Thanks, Dexter. The response was not as conclusive as Dexter had hoped. He left feeling uneasy, wondering if Elon would take action on the information. That evening, Dexter picked up Zoe for her playdate at Maya's house. When the door opened, Vernon Reeves stood in place of Maya's father, which surprised him. Vernon greeted Dexter with a cold smile. Maya's father could not make it. I'm watching the girls tonight. Dexter's blood became cold. Vernon's eyes reflected a dangerous knowledge. Vernon smiled and said, Come in, Zoe is already here. The girls are in the basement workshop. Mr. Chen allows them to play with the robot prototypes. Dexter hesitated, his instincts screaming danger. However, he couldn't leave without Zoe. Actually, Dexter casually stated, I need to get Zoe home early tonight. This is a family emergency. That's a shame, Vernon responded. Let me get her. As Vernon disappeared down the hallway, Dexter quickly texted Regina. At Chen's home. Reeves? Here. Something's wrong. Vernon returned alone. The girls are having a lot of fun with the robots. Why don't you come down to see? Then Zoe can decide whether she wants to leave early. Dexter was left with no choice but to follow Vernon down the basement stairs. The workshop was impressive, full of half-finished robots and computer stations. Zoe and Maya sat at a table, assembling small mechanical components. Zoe smiled as she looked up at Dad. Look at what we're building. Very cool, Dexter said, forcing a smile. But we need to leave now, honey. Grandma is on the phone. She has big news. Zoe looked disappointed but began gathering her things. Just then, Dexter's phone vibrated with a text from Elon. You were correct. The security team is on its way to Reeves' house now. Dexter realized with horror that he had given his team the incorrect location. But before he could respond, Vernon's hand closed around his wrist. New phone? Vernon asked softly, his fingers pressing so hard that Dexter dropped the device. Sorry for that. The message was clear. Vernon realized he had been discovered. Girls, why don't you go upstairs for some ice cream? Vernon suggested brightly. Mr. Calloway and I need to talk about business for a minute. But we're not done. Our robot, Maya, protested. Vernon insisted that you start with ice cream and then finish. Vernon's friendly demeanor vanished after the girls went upstairs. You've been causing me a lot of problems, Dexter. Dexter said calmly, the game is over, Vernon. Elon knows everything. Security teams are on the way. Vernon corrected with a thin smile. Not here. By the time they figure it out, we will be long gone. We? Dexter's concern grew. Maya's father has been extremely cooperative. Vernon explained that it's amazing what people will do once their gambling debts are paid. He has assisted me in gaining access to systems that are beyond my clearance level. Vernon took out a small device from his pocket. This includes every design, blueprint, and piece of proprietary technology created in the previous 5 years. Worth billions. To the correct buyers. Dexter overheard the girls laughing upstairs. His priorities were clear. Protect Zoe and Maya. Why jeopardize everything? Dexter inquired, stalling for time. You had a successful career with stock options. I helped build that company. Elon, Vernon snapped. Then he hires all of these new people and quickly elevates them to executive positions. Where is my recognition? My reward? As Vernon ranted, Dexter noticed his phone on the floor, its screen illuminated with incoming messages. Regina triangulated his location. Help was on its way, but it was not arriving quickly enough. The laughter of the girls upstairs came to an abrupt halt. Dexter heard a door slam and then silence. Vernon smiled. It's time to go. The girls will be okay. We only need them as insurance. They will not suffer any consequences if you cooperate. Dexter's training kicked in. He needed to get to Zoe, even if it meant confronting Vernon directly. However, as he planned his move, the basement door opened. "Mr. Reeves?" Maya made a call. "Someone is at the door. They say they are from Dad's workplace." Vernon's face was contorted with rage. He grabbed Dexter's arm and dragged him to the back exit. "Tell them that your father will be right up." Maya paused, staring at Dexter in confusion. In that moment, Dexter realized he only had one chance to save both girls. "Maya, run!" Dexter yelled. "Find Zoe and run outside." Vernon lunged forward, but Dexter blocked his way. The two men collided, crashing into a workbench and leaving tools and robot parts scattered on the floor. "Get the girls out of here," Dexter yelled again as he struggled with Vernon. Maya dashed up the stairs. Vernon punched Dexter in the ribs, knocking the wind out of him. Despite the pain, Dexter held on to Vernon's lab coat, preventing him from chasing Maya. Vernon hissed angrily, "You've ruined everything." Upstairs, Dexter heard slamming doors and Zoe's scared voice. At least the girls were active. Every second he kept Vernon busy increased their chances of escaping. Vernon broke free and dashed for a side door, but Dexter tackled him from behind. They crashed into a computer station, sending monitors tumbling around them. "It's over, Vernon," Dexter exclaimed, pinning the elderly man's arms. "Security teams have already arrived." Sirens wailed outside, seemingly confirming his words. Flashing red and blue lights shone through a small basement window, lighting up the room. Vernon stopped struggling, his body sagging with defeat. "They won't understand why I did it." "I understand," Dexter said, keeping his hold. "You felt undervalued, but this does not justify endangering children." Heavy footsteps reverberated down the stairs. Regina appeared first, with weapon drawn, followed by police officers and facility security personnel. "Dexter, are you okay?" Regina rushed forward as officers took Vernon into custody. Dexter wheezed, his ribcage throbbing. "Where are Zoe and Maya?" "Safe. They're outside, with a female officer." Dexter stumbled up the stairs and exited the front door. Zoe sat in the driveway, surrounded by police cars, wrapped in a blanket beside her friend. When she saw him, she broke away and ran towards him. "Dad!" She collided with him, nearly knocking him over. "I was very scared." Dexter hugged her tightly, ignoring the pain in his ribs. "You are safe now. Everything's fine." Within minutes, the house was swarmed with police and corporate security. They discovered Maya's father, Chen, locked in an upstairs closet. He was forced to cooperate after Vernon threatened his daughter. As paramedics assessed Dexter's injuries, a black car approached. Elon stepped out to survey the chaotic scene. Dexter was sitting on the back of an ambulance, with Zoe still clinging to his side. "You were correct," Elon said as he approached. "About everything." Dexter nodded, exhausted beyond words. "If you hadn't already figured it out." Elon left the sentence unfinished as he watched the police lead Vernon to a patrol car. "He was my friend. For many years, I trusted him." Dexter explained that the people closest to us can be the most difficult to see clearly. Elon shifted his gaze to Zoe. "Is she okay?" "She will be," Dexter said, hugging his daughter tighter. "We both will." The paramedics insisted on transporting Dexter to the hospital for X-rays. His ribs were bruised but not broken, so they wanted to look for other injuries. Zoe wouldn't leave his side. She whispered in the ambulance, "You were so brave, like a superhero." Dexter smiled, despite his pain. "I was just being a father." By morning, the news had spread throughout the company. Vernon Reeves, a senior vice president and longtime Musk associate, was arrested for corporate espionage and kidnapping. The security team that discovered the plot. The new head of security risked his life to save 2 children. Regina went to see Dexter in the hospital, bringing him coffee and news. They found everything. The stolen blueprints, offshore accounts, and communication with competitors. He had been planning this for more than a year. Did he explain why? Dexter asked. Money, yes, but primarily ego. He believed Elon was not giving him enough credit for the company's success. Regina shakes her head. Some people can never receive enough recognition. When Dexter was released from the hospital that afternoon, a car was waiting to transport him and Zoe home. To his surprise, Elon was inside. I wanted to thank you personally, Elon said as they drove. Not only was Vernon's betrayal exposed, but those children were also protected. Anyone would have done the same, Dexter said. No, Elon replied firmly. Most people would have been waiting for security to arrive. You put yourself in danger to protect those girls. Zoe finally fell asleep after her ordeal and rested her head on Dexter's lap. The board met this morning, Elon said. They have approved a comprehensive security overhaul based on your recommendations. You'll have all the resources you need. Thank you, Dexter replied. But right now, all I want is to be home with my daughter. Elon nodded. Of course, take as much time as you need. At their apartment, Dexter carried Zoe to her bedroom while she was still sleeping. As he tucked her in, she stirred. Dad, are the bad guys gone? Yes, sweetie. The bad guys are gone. Good. She yawned. Because I really enjoy it here. I do not want to leave. We are not going anywhere, Dexter promised. Dexter worked from home for the next week, providing Zoe with the necessary stability following the traumatic experience. She had nightmares the first few nights and crawled into his bed in the early morning hours. Clara flew in to assist, bringing Zoe's favorite cookies and boundless patience for her granddaughter's repeated recounting of the terrifying experience. You did well, Clara told Dexter privately. Marilyn would be extremely proud of the father you have become. When Dexter finally returned to the facility, he discovered that his security team had transformed. No more skepticism, no more opposition to his leadership. The story of his confrontation with Vernon spread, becoming more heroic with each telling. As Dexter entered the main conference room, Roland Perry, the security director who had initially doubted Dexter's evidence, stood up. The floor is yours. Roland gestured to the head of the table and said, Calloway. We're all eager to hear about your new security protocols. Dexter spent the next hour outlining his vision for the facility's protection. Integrated systems, cross-departmental verification, and routine security drills. It's not just about stopping outside threats, he explained. It is about creating a culture in which everyone bears responsibility for security. After the meeting, Elon asked Dexter to stay behind. There is something I'd like to show you. They walked to an area of the facility that Dexter had never visited before. Behind a series of secure doors lay a vast room brimming with the most advanced robotics Dexter had ever witnessed. This is what Vernon really wanted, Elon explained. Not the solar panels or automobile designs. This. Dexter watched in awe as robots constructed smaller robots with incredible precision. What am I looking at? Elon spoke simply about the future. AI systems are capable of exponential learning. If our competitors obtain this technology, I understand, Dexter said. You can count on me. I understand, Elon replied. That is why you are here. Employees nodded respectfully to Dexter as they walked back through the facility. No longer just the security guard in the viral video. Now he was the one who had saved the company from disaster. Dexter checked his watch. It's almost time to pick Zoe up from school. Despite everything that had happened, and despite his new position in the company, that remained his most important responsibility. Go, Elon said, noticing the gesture. Family comes first. While driving to Zoe's school, Dexter reflected on how much had changed since that fateful night at the Global Innovation Summit. One moment of doing the right thing triggered a chain of events that completely transformed their lives. Zoe was waiting at the pickup location, chatting with Maya. Both girls had quickly recovered from their ordeal, and their friendship was stronger than ever. Zoe ran to the car, calling out, "Dad! Guess what? I received an A+ on my science project." "That's my girl," Dexter said proudly. "How about some ice cream to celebrate?" As they drove away, Dexter looked in the rearview mirror at the school, which was shrinking behind them. The past was behind them. Now their future was bright and full of promise. "Can Maya come to a sleepover this weekend?" Zoe asked as she licked her chocolate ice cream cone. "Her father said it's fine if you say yes." Dexter hesitated. After what had happened, he felt protective of both girls. However, he recognized the importance of maintaining normalcy. "Yes," he agreed. "We can cook pizza and watch movies." Zoe's face lightened up. "And can we conduct scientific experiments? Maya's father gave us a real microscope." "Nothing too explosive," Dexter warned, smiling. Life gradually returned to normal over the next few weeks. Vernon Reeves awaited trial on charges of corporate espionage, kidnapping, and assault. The company had recovered the majority of the stolen designs before they could be sold. At work, Dexter's position was more secure than ever. His security team implemented new protocols, which other divisions of the company began to follow. Even the most skeptical executives listened to Dexter in meetings. One evening, Dexter got a call from Elon. Elon stated without hesitation, "There is a situation. Vernon is refusing to cooperate with investigators. He'll only speak with you." "Me? Why?" "He claims you're the only one who understands his motivations." Dexter reflected on their confrontation. "I will go tomorrow morning." "Thank you. This could help us identify additional potential security risks." The county detention facility was cold and sterile. Dexter sat in a tiny interview room, waiting. When guards brought Vernon in, Dexter was taken aback by his appearance. The once confident executive appeared thin and pale, with his expensive suits replaced by an orange jumpsuit. "Dexter," Vernon nodded as he sat across the table. "Thank you for coming. What would you like to tell me, Vernon?" Vernon leaned forwards. "They all think I did it for money or revenge, but the truth is more complicated." "Explain it to me," Dexter asked calmly. Vernon began, "I built that company alongside Elon. Initially, we were on equal footing. Then he became the face, genius, and visionary. I became a member of staff." Dexter listened without interrupting. "Do you know what it's like to see someone else take credit for your ideas and have them celebrated while you remain invisible?" Vernon's hand trembled slightly. "I waited year after year for recognition, but it never came." "So you've decided to sell company secrets?" "At first, all I wanted was leverage, something to demonstrate my value." Vernon sighed. "Then it snowballed. A single leak led to another. The money was good, but there was more to it." Dexter reflected on his own journey, and how different it might have been if he had chosen resentment over acceptance. "You had other choices, Vernon. You could have left and founded your own company. And compete with Elon? Impossible." Vernon shakes his head. "I was caught in his shadow." "That does not justify what you did," Dexter stated firmly. "You endangered children." Vernon's shoulders slumped. "I never intended for that to happen. Things became out of control. I just wanted to leave." "Is anyone else involved? Are there any other leaks we should know about?" Vernon hesitated before naming 2 engineers who assisted him in gaining access to restricted areas. "They didn't understand what I was doing. They assumed I was conducting security audits." After the interview, Dexter informed Elon of what he had learned. "He's still justifying his actions," Dexter said. "However, I believe him about the other employees. They were manipulated, not willing participants." Elon nodded thoughtfully. "Given what he had put you and your daughter through, you demonstrated remarkable compassion." "Understanding someone does not imply excusing them," Dexter replied. That weekend, Maya came for a sleepover. The girls giggled over pizza and worked on their science projects for hours. Hearing their laughter, Dexter felt a weight lift off his shoulders. The children were resilient. Zoe would be fine. After putting the girls to bed, Dexter sat on the balcony and enjoyed the warm Texas night. Clara called to check in. "How about my favorite security expert?" she asked cheerfully. Dexter replied, "Getting by." "How are things at home?" "Ah, the same. Mrs. Peterson is still walking her cat on a leash. The grocery store is still unable to keep good ice cream in stock." Clara paused. "We miss you both, but I am proud of what you're doing there." "Thank you, Mom. This means a lot." The following morning, Dexter took the girls to a science museum. As they explored exhibits about robotics and space travel, he noticed Zoe's confidence in explaining concepts to Maya. Her teacher was correct. She possessed a gift for science. On Monday, Elon invited Dexter to attend an executive meeting. The topic was a new scholarship fund for children who have lost their parents. "We'd like to name it after your late wife," Elon said. "The Marilyn Calloway Memorial Scholarship is for children who show promise in science and technology." Dexter was speechless. "That's extremely generous." "It was Regina's idea," Elon explained. "Your team has enormous respect for you." The scholarship would provide full education funding to 10 students each year. Children from single-parent households would receive preferential treatment. Elon suggested that Zoe join the selection committee when she is older. Dexter said, "If she wants, she'd love that," picturing Marilyn's pride. As summer gave way to fall, their life in Texas felt more like home. Zoe began the new school year with confidence, joining the robotics club and making new friends. Dexter's security team grew, introducing innovations that were later adopted throughout the company. On a crisp October day, Dexter entered his office to find an envelope on the desk. The inside contained a formal invitation to a company event the following week. The note attached stated, "Don't worry, you'll be on the guest list this time." And Dexter smiled, recalling where this journey had begun, with a simple insistence on following the guidelines. Sometimes, he reflected, the smallest decisions result in the most significant changes. That evening, as he helped Zoe with her science homework, she looked up unexpectedly. "Dad? Are you happy that we moved here?" Dexter considered the question carefully. "Yes, it was difficult at first, but this is where we are now." Zoe expressed confidence that her mother would agree. She always said to take the right path, even if it was difficult. She did say that, and Dexter agreed, moved by Zoe's memory. And she was correct, Zoe declared before returning to her homework. Looking at his daughter, who was growing stronger and more confident by the day, Dexter knew they would face whatever challenges awaited them together. 6 months later, spring brought fresh starts to Texas. Wildflowers dotted the landscape, and the facility was brimming with innovation. Dexter now managed the entire security division, which included 300 employees. His new office featured a wall of windows that overlooked the complex. Photographs covered his desk. Zoe attended her first science fair in Texas. She won first place with Clara's last visit and an old photo of Marilyn holding baby Zoe. "Mr. Calloway?" His assistant poked her head inside. "The new security protocols have been implemented at all 17 locations, and Mr. Musk would like to meet with you when you have a moment." "Thanks, Jessica. I'll go there now." Walking through the facility, Dexter nodded at employees who addressed him by name. He was no longer the security guard seen in the video. Instead, he was simply Dexter Calloway, head of security operations. The scholarship fund he helped establish had already helped 15 children who had lost their parents. Dexter had insisted that the selection process value character and determination over perfect grades. He would explain to the committee that the strongest people do not always appear to be the strongest on paper. Elon's office door was open. He was studying a holographic display of what appeared to be a space station. "Did you want to see me?" Dexter asked. Elon minimized the display. "Yes, come in." He motioned toward a chair. "How is Zoe doing in her robotics competition?" Dexter was proud of her team's qualification for the state finals. She barely sleeps. She's very excited. Elon observed that she has her father's determination. Speaking of determination, your security overhaul has outperformed expectations. The board was impressed. Dexter replied, just doing my job. That phrase. Elon smiled. Remember when we first met? When did you refuse to let me into my own event? It's hard to forget the day that changed my life. I've been reflecting on that moment, Elon said, leaning back in his chair. It taught me something valuable. What is that, sir? The most valuable people are not those who bend the rules for you. They are the ones who have the courage to hold you to the same standards as everyone else. Elon's expression became serious. That's unusual, Dexter. Most people are so blinded by power or wealth that they forget that principles are important. Dexter nodded, realizing why Elon had been so interested in him from the beginning. That reminds me, Elon added. A special event is scheduled for next week. Global Innovation Summit. Very high profile. Dexter promised to ensure airtight security. Good. Elon handed him an identification badge. Because this time, I don't want any problems getting in. They both laughed. The memory of their first encounter is now a joke between them. That evening, Dexter assisted Zoe in preparing for her robotics competition. She had created a small machine that could sort recyclable materials automatically. Dad, do you think Mom would understand all of this robot stuff? Zoe asked as she adjusted a sensor. Dexter replied, she was as smart as a whip. But, more importantly, she would recognize how hard you had worked. That would make her extremely proud. Zoe nodded, pleased with the answer. At 11, she began to ask about her mother more frequently, hoping to keep memories alive. Regina visited Dexter's office the next day with news about Vernon Reeves. He accepted a plea bargain, she said. 8 years in federal prison. He's working with investigators to uncover additional corporate espionage networks. Good, Dexter replied simply. He had paid Vernon another visit after their initial prison meeting, this time out of compassion rather than obligation. The man had lost everything because he did not value what he had. Regina went on to say that the security protocols you designed are now industry standards. 3 additional major technology companies have requested consultations. Dexter remembered his old shoebox business plan, which was gathering dust in a closet. He had aspirations of starting his own small security company. Reality had far exceeded his expectations. We've come a long way since checking badges at the door, he said with a smile. On Saturday, Dexter and Zoe met Clara at the airport. She was relocating to Texas, into a small house only 10 minutes from their apartment. I couldn't stand only seeing my favorite people every few months, she said as they drove home. Furthermore, someone needs to watch Zoe while you are working late. Having his mother nearby completes the circle. Their new life wasn't new anymore. It was simply life, abundant and fulfilling. The Global Innovation Summit arrived the next week. Dexter personally oversaw security, watching with satisfaction as his team carried out the protocols he designed. All badges were checked. All packages were scanned. No exceptions. Midway through the event, Elon discovered him monitoring operations from the security hub. Is everything running smoothly? Elon asked. Dexter confirmed, as if on cue. Even with the Secretary of Energy and 3 foreign dignitaries present. Excellent. Elon paused, appearing to consider his next words carefully. There is something I have never told you, Dexter. This explains why I valued your integrity so much from the start. Dexter waited with curiosity. Years ago, I lost millions of dollars to an employee who constantly bent the rules to please me. Elon revealed that he earned my trust through constant flattery and exceptions. He then stole proprietary technology and resold it to competitors. I am sorry to hear that, Dexter said. After that, I created a test. Elon continued. Whenever I hired new executives, I put them in situations where they had to choose between enforcing rules and making exceptions for me personally. Dexter realized he was trying to enter an event without the proper identification. Exactly. In 5 years, no one had passed the test. Elon's expression softened as a security guard with unwavering principles stood firm against one of the world's wealthiest men. The revelation astounded Dexter. So that night at the summit was a test you didn't realize you were taking, Elon explained. One that transformed both of our lives for the better. As Elon walked away, Dexter reflected on the chain of events set in motion by that single act of doing what he believed was right. The struggles, triumphs, and growth all stemmed from a simple decision to follow the rules, no matter who stood in front of him. His phone vibrated with a text from Zoe. "Dad, my robot won first place." First place. Dexter felt a surge of pride in his chest. Whatever the future held, whatever challenges awaited him, he would confront them in the same way he had always approached life. With integrity, determination, and love. Some might consider his story legendary. Dexter simply called it doing the right thing. And that's how one security guard's commitment to doing the right thing transformed not only his life, but also the future of his daughter. Sometimes the smallest decisions result in the most extraordinary outcomes. Now I am curious, where are you listening from today? Please leave your location in the comments below. If you enjoyed Dexter and Elon's story, please click the like button to help spread some kindness and inspiration to others who may need it. If you're looking for another compelling story, click on the video that's currently playing on your screen. I promise it will be worth your time. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.